Committee on Parole is called back to order. The time is 11:13. We are at Southwest work release. Mr. Bowden or Bowden, how do you pronounce your name, sir?
Last name Bowden.
Mr. Bowden, is there anyone from Southwest there with you in that room?
Yes, sir. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, would you
Hey,
please?
Cheryl. Hey, how are y'all?
Very well. How about you? Would you please make an appearance for the record?
My name is Cheryl Cook, administrator here at Southwest TWP.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bowden,
Yeah.
let me explain our process to you. I'm going to read some information into the record, and then we're going to conduct a parole interview with you. And at the appropriate time, we will allow those persons who wish to have input to speak. Speaking in opposition to your parole today is Mr. Jeffrey Williams Sr., Ms. Valerie Williams, as well as Mr. Randy Meyer with the District Attorney's Office in Jefferson Parish. Also on Zoom, but not speaking, is Faith Williams, Annette Knight, and Jeffrey Williams Jr. Do you understand? And at the end of that, you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to the panel, and then we'll vote. You understand our process?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Patrick C. Bowden, DOC number 759238, date of birth September the 15th, 1980. He's a first-time offender. He has a parole eligibility date of February the 15th of 2024, adjusted good time date of June 15th of 2025, and a full term date of May the 14th of 2035. He is serving a 15-year sentence on charge of 2 counts of cruelty to the infirmed, having been sentenced on March the 31st of 2021. Mr. Bowden, is that information all accurate?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowden, your case has been assigned to me, so I will begin our interview process. Excuse me, Mr. Bowden, how old are you, sir?
42.
And how long have you served on this particular sentence?
As of right now, 3 years.
Mr. Bowden, how far did you go in school?
High school, 12th grade.
You graduated high school?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about your work experience? Tell me a little bit about your work experience.
Work experience. I did hospitality work, worked in the hotel industry, grocery stores. Did a little bit of marine surplus work, and then pretty much that's it.
Tell me how you came to work for the Cerebral Palsy Agency. How did you get that job, and what kind of work did you do for them?
Through a family friend of the victim's family member. They told me they were looking for somebody to help with Jeffrey Williams Jr. I said, okay, let me try and give it a shot.
What was your experience? What kind of work did you understand it to be?
I wasn't totally clear about it, but I thought it was basically making sure he was all right while he was asleep, making sure he was taken care of. Until I went to, sorry.
You were familiar with Mr. Williams' family. You were his sister, I believe, was your girlfriend at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So did you know Mr. Williams?
Yes.
So you knew what kind of condition he was in?
Yes.
And how old were you when you went to work for Cerebral Palsy?
I was 38, 39.
Let me ask you, Mr. Bowden, are drugs or alcohol involved? Do you have an issue with drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
Have you ever done drugs, illegal drugs?
No, sir.
You ever drink alcohol? I mean, to an extent to where it's an issue? Do you drink? I mean, I'll ask you.
Not full fledged, but like occasionally.
You have had, thank you, Mr. Wise. You have had 2 previous DWIs.
Correct.
What were those about? My experience is if the person has had one or two DWIs, they probably were driving after having been drank probably 10, 15 times. You don't just get caught each time you drive after having drank. So tell me a little bit about your drinking issue. What did you drink?
Mainly, I'm a beer drinker, sometimes a few shots, and those two particular incidents, I had too much to drink. Thought I could handle driving behind the wheel, and I couldn't.
So, Mr. Bowden, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I've read the report and I'm at a loss to know how someone could do something. So tell me what was going on with you that caused you to commit these horrible acts. I mean, many of them are on video. So tell me what happened. Well, first off, tell me, why did you take the job?
I thought I was helping out the family, but I didn't. Once I realized, I thought I could handle it. Was thinking I was doing a job until the incident happened.
Well, let me see if I'm not mistaken. It's my understanding this began the first day you went there. The very day you went to take care of Mr. Williams was the first day you began to abuse him. That's what your statement says. Is that wrong?
No, sir.
So tell me why you knew him, you knew what condition he was in, you went to work there, and you began to abuse him. So tell me, explain to me why.
Honestly, sir, I was going. I took out what I was dealing with in myself on the wrong person at the wrong time, and I'm sorry for it. Now, because I've learned from what my mistake was when it happened, I've learned from it. I'm changed. I'm not that person who I was back
Well,
then.
what was going on with you that you would do this?
I guess the loss of my mother before this, it just started to hit me, and I was just it. Once again, that I took out the anger of the loss of my mother on the wrong person, a vulnerable young man like himself. I'm paying the price for it now. I realize that.
Have you ever had a mental health evaluation or any sort of an evaluation, emotional evaluation?
I was scheduled to have one before I got locked up through a psychiatrist back at home. And it never, when I got locked up this last time for this situation, I supposed to have a meeting with a psychiatrist.
How long did you work for cerebral palsy? What's the duration of the time you abused Mr. Williams?
Started in I'm not sure when the days,
Oh. How long, roughly how long?
probably about 6 months.
At any time during that time, did you seek out any sort of treatment, any sort of help? I mean, you had to know what you were doing.
I was the beginning stage. No, I haven't until I realized when I got released the first time with the situation, I was going to seek help then. But before that,
You
no.
say you were released the first time. You got arrested and you bonded out?
I got arrested the first time. It was overcrowding. They let me go home.
How long were you out?
Probably about a week. Then
Okay.
went back, bonded out, and I was out for probably 4 months. And then I got,
During that 4 months, you never sought any kind of treatment, never,
I was getting ready to see, I was going to see treatment. I went to a psychiatrist who I thought I was gonna see. He was recommending me to another psychiatrist. And before I got arrested this last time, I was getting ready to go see that psychiatrist. But
Mr. Bowden, tell me what you did. Tell me how you abused this young.
pulling on his nose, headbutting him, putting a pillow over his face. What was the basically what I thought was what to me now, when I see both sides of the story, what I thought was just me trying to interact with him because he was bedridden and couldn't get up and do things like a normal person could. I thought with me doing what I did was not abuse, but now that I realize it is.
What did you think it was? On what level did you think that wasn't abuse?
None. I don't know. I
In
thought,
addition to the 74 counts of cruelty, you also were charged with 5 counts of sexual battery. What did you do in that regard? I know you didn't plead to that, but what did you do in that regard?
well, part of my duty with taking care of Mr. Williams Jr. was I had to change his diaper, make sure he stayed clean and dry. And I really didn't do anything I didn't think I didn't do anything sexually to him, but all I did was wipe his private area, put his diaper back onto him and put him back in his bed.
I've looked at your file, and while you've been in prison for, I think you said 3 years,
Yes,
you've
sir.
taken Money Smart. Have you taken any other programs while you've been in prison?
I've got 2 more. I took one for Cajun Rage, it was an anger management class.
When did you take that?
That was back in well, let me see. I've got information with me right here.
2023, just recently. It looks like you just finished it, right?
Back in June of this year, yes, sir.
Right.
And then
And
also,
you took Living in Balance as well.
yes, sir.
What did you learn out of those programs? What did you get out of those programs?
To learn how to control my anger better, to
Well, tell me how you would control your anger better.
not lash out at a person for the wrong reason if it wasn't to turn into that person, more or less of discussing it instead of putting my hands on somebody, I guess. And then on the Living in Balance is a substance abuse class, which I have with the two DWIs, if y'all noticed. Learn to also control how to say no, or I don't need to be doing that. So I've learned a lot from both those classes, and I've also been going to church a lot more too, while I've been locked up.
And you're in work release right now. How long have you been in work release?
I've been doing work release since I got here back in April last year. I've been doing compound work here at Southwest TWP for the past year. October of last year, almost October of this year. I used to cut the grass on the compound. Now I work in the garment factory making jumpers, sheets, pillowcases for all the different other prisons around the area.
Have you been evaluated? Have you had a mental health evaluation since you've been in prison?
No, sir.
So you were gonna go to a psychiatrist, but you never were able to get to one, and you've never been evaluated, or you on any kind of medication for depression or anything like that?
No, sir.
Do you think that's something that you need?
I would like to be evaluated to see if that is if that could be a helpful helpful situation.
Well, tell me what your thoughts are now about what you did.
My thoughts are now what I did, Mr. Williams, which is wrong. I've learned from him. I'm sorry to the family that I put them through all this. And like I said before, I've changed. I'm not that hot-headed person I used to be.
Do you realize what you've put this family through?
A lot of mental anguish, a lot of physical pain, heartache. Yes,
Have
I
you
do.
taken anything having to do with the victim impact or anything that relates to what your harm has done to this family?
Honestly, no, sir. I mean, I know I'm no, from what I've been served for the family. When I got locked up, I've been served a permanent restraining order, stay away order from the family completely. I understand that. That's fine. I respect that. I deserve that for what I did.
Why should I vote to let you out after you've only served 3 years on a 15-year sentence? What, tell me why, give me your reasons why I should show compassion or leniency to you and vote to recommend that you be paroled.
Like I said before, I'm not that person I was.
Why aren't you?
Because I've learned from my mistake.
What have you learned? I mean, you've taken 1 or 2 courses. You just took a course. I think you just finished it last month. You haven't gotten to a psychiatrist. You haven't had any sort of mental health work. How are you a different person other than that you're in jail?
I'm from now on, I'm not gonna be that level-headed, uneven tempered person. I'm going to stay away from people who basically I'm gonna say to myself, if I'm granted parole, sir, I'm gonna come home, be released, have a job, do my job, come home. No more going out partying. I'm gonna be strictly family, work, church. That's
Well, I
it.
hear what you're going to do. Tell me why I should release you early.
Because I honestly think, even though I've served a short amount of time, like you said, mentally, physically, and emotionally, I hope, and I know I've learned a lesson. I hope that I can, uh, you can show, well, that I could prove to y'all as a board that I've changed.
You don't
Right.
prove it after you get out, you prove it before you get out.
I've proven here that I have no write-ups since I've been locked up, so no write-ups, working since I've been locked up. I've done everything on a straight and narrow path since I've been locked up, so
You're locked up. There are people watching you. And the only reason we know, and the only reason you're in jail today is because there was video proof of what you did. I mean, you did that for months and months. And I find it ironic that in your package, you suggested one of the reasons you wanted to get out because your father was sick and you wanted to take care of him.
Basically, to take care of him, it was to go home, cook for him, help him clean around the house, do stuff like that, not like take care of him, physically take care of him, help him around the
I
house.
understand. I understand.
And
And you
besides,
would want your loved one taken care of. You would want someone to take care of someone you care for, just as they trusted you to take care of Mr. Williams.
and I let them down, I'm sorry. And I let them down, hugely let them down, I'm sorry for that.
Mr. Bowden, you've got a lot of opposition. You've got the victim opposition, you've got the DA opposition. You've taken very few programs. You haven't had a mental health evaluation. Those are some real issues that concern me. Ms. Cook, what can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Bowden?
He hasn't been in any trouble or anything since he's been here. He does work in the garment factory. We have a garment factory here where they can go in and sew. It's for people that's not eligible to go out and work. He does do that. Other than that, he's been no trouble, had caused no problems.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to hear from any questions. Now we're going to hear from the opposition. Let's hear from Mr. Jeffrey Williams, Sr.
Is he?
You're on mute, Mr. Williams. Not yet.
Hello?
Yeah, there we go. We can hear you now. If you would introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to hear.
Yes, sir. Some things Mr. Bowden didn't tell you.
You gotta introduce yourself.
I'm Jeffrey Williams. I'm sorry. My name is Jeffrey Williams Sr. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay,
You're looking straight at us. You're good with us. I don't know what you're looking at up there.
all right. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm Jeffrey Williams Sr. And behind me is little man. I call him little man. That's Jeffrey Williams Jr. behind me. And my wife, Valerie Williams. Some things Mr. Bowden didn't tell you is he broke little Jeffrey Jr.'s arm and leg also. So just for facts. In the 6 months that Patrick worked for me, before the 6 months that he worked for me, he was a friend. We did things together and stuff before he worked for me. So with those 6 months, he was a friend of the family, and he was a friend of mine. So I didn't trust him to take care of my son like I would take care of my son, and he didn't do that. He abused him from the first day that he worked for me, and all this other stuff I hear him say, it's just don't make no sense to me. I just don't see him changing and all that. It's just a lot of nonsense. Since everything happened, we had to sell our house and move to a different house because my son just was never the same after everything. The house, after he was arrested and everything, when it came at 11 o'clock at night, he started getting irritated, thinking that Patrick was still coming in. So the weeks went by and he still was getting irritated. So we had to sell that house and move to a different house. And it's just been really hard. I took it hard. I've been going to psychiatrist for this ordeal. So I've taken it hard. My son, I got him in his chair to set it up for today, and he's been fussy since he got in his chair, seeing everything going on today. So I had to give him extra medicine and everything just to get him calmed down to be able to do this for today. So it's still an ordeal for him. It's really hard to hear things that's being said about everything. You read everything that happened, so you know what's going on. And I just 3 years is real early for this. We really did a lot of negotiating on this whole thing to start with anyway. I thought 15 years was very light for what he got, for what he did. So I don't think he should need to get out now. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you, sir. Ms. Williams, do you wish to say anything?
Hang on one second.
Hello, I just want everyone to meet Jeffrey. He's a little asleep right now, and I just want y'all to know that my son's still not right. We still do not have a permanent overnight caregiver because we can't hire for that position because he still has stress issues. So just take that into account, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Meyer, Mr. Randy Meyer.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Randy Meyer, Assistant DA Jefferson Parish, and we're strongly opposed to Mr. Bowden's request for parole. He pled to 74 counts of cruelty to the infirm that, as we know, occurred over roughly a 6-month period. And one thing that is concerning is his lack of accountability of what he did. When Mr. Marabella, when you ask him about, what he did, the only thing he really said was about putting a pillow over his mouth. Well, he did, and the video shows he did substantially more than just that. And he as his father testified or just stated that actually broke his arm and broke his leg. And there were videos of him beating him, throwing him, picking him up and throwing him down, picking him up by the neck. So he did a significant amount of injury to him. So we think that's a problem. And now he's only taken money management, anger management, and living in balance. I think clearly there's additional programs he needs. Mental health evaluation, I think, would be appropriate. And only serving roughly 3 years out of the 15-year sentence is I think inappropriate. I think he needs to serve additional more time and take some more programming. I think the 2 DWIs indicate that substance abuse treatment would be appropriate for him, as well as some victim counseling type programs for him. And finally, as you can see, there was very strong victim opposition. So for those reasons, we are opposed to Mr. Bowden's request for parole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meyer. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Bowden, is there anything you'd like to say before the board votes?
Yes, sir. I'm glad I could be able to meet with y'all this morning, for one. I am deeply sorry for what I've done. I hope the board to let me go home or get out and take the programs on the outside, like mental health evaluation, substance abuse classes, or whatever other class y'all decide I should need to take, whether it be here or out there, I'll do it. I'd just like to tell the Williams family if they can hear me, which I probably know they can't. I am deeply sorry. If y'all never want to speak to me again, that's fine. But I hope deep down in your heart y'all can forgive me. I've forgiven them, as well as my prior self. So I just like the bottom line, I'd like to hopefully soon be able to go home and help take care of my family and be back with my family. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Appreciate your comments, sir. Mr. Bowden, the facts of a case is something that we take into account. Ordinarily, most of our cases are bad cases. This is a horrible case. What you did is just inexcusable. it's very clear to me that you don't really have an understanding or the acceptance of responsibility of what you did. I mean, you're saying the words, to me, you need some significant treatment. You need mental health evaluation. You need some treatment. You need substance abuse. You need victim awareness to really comprehend the significance of what you did to that young man and his family. I find it interesting to say that you've forgiven them. I don't know what you've forgiven them for. They had a person who they thought was a trusted friend to come and help them with their family. I don't see anything that you should be forgiving them. You should forgive yourself. I accept that. But I think you need to get to the root of the problem before you can really forgive yourself. Clearly had victim opposition, you haven't served very much time. Sentence that I concede, I believe, is just very light. But I don't know all of the circumstances for which you got 15 years. So I'm certainly not going to criticize anybody for that sentence. But you have a 15-year sentence, and 3 years is just not sufficient time for me to have served that time. You have law enforcement opposition. You need substance abuse treatment. You need some mental health treatment. You need more management, and you need some understanding of what and why you did what you did. So my vote today is to deny you. And I hope that you can, you're in work release. I understand you do okay while you're in work release. That's good. And it's good to be working. And I think you need to be working on yourself more if you would expect someone like me to release you. If you just continue to work and come back before a board like this in another 2 years, and I would still be on this board, probably would vote the same way to deny. I'm just one vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bowden, and it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the fact that they were friends of yours and you took their money. You paid for that. And they were friends. You just could have went and said, look, I took this job. I'm not made for this. Because it takes a certain kind of person to work those kind of jobs. And everybody's not cut out for that. They were friends. You could have just said that. But you accepted pay over that period of time, knowing it was killing you on the inside because you just wasn't made for that kind of work. I concur with my colleague. My vote is denied for the reasons already stated on the record. In addition, I think you need grief counseling as well. The impact of the crime, physically and emotionally, on the victim is what really outstands to me. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Freeman.
I'm not gonna go back over it all. If I start talking, I'll probably say something and I'll get thrown off this board. My vote is 100% to deny.
Mr. Bowden, you've got 3 votes to deny. You need some work. I would encourage you to try to take as many courses and look inwardly to find out exactly what it is and why it is you did what you did. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cook, thank you very much for your help. We'll be adjourned at 11:46.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
How do you unpack this? I do have articles that are shared, and I'll get into more information. But I never thought that I'd be covering a case that can make me feel maybe even more sick than some of the cockroach cases. And to think again that he only got a 15-year sentence is just mind blowing. It makes no sense. They had everything recorded on camera. It would have been the easiest conviction that you could possibly get. Someone needs to explain to me why they didn't just take him to court and try him and lock him up for life. I need to know the answer. That creature has no business being in society with the rest of us. And furthermore, he has the power, the right, the power, the control to put this family through this every 2 years. That's going to be 7 times over the next 15 years that they're going to have to show up, assuming he serves his full sentence. How is that fair? You know, the legislator makes the rules in this state, and it's just geared without victim feelings in mind at all. The things that thing said, I mean, I guess the definition is sociopath? Psychopath? I'm happy Mr. Mirabella said what he said, because that stuck out to me. I forgive them. What? He says, I know what I did and I'm paying the price for it now. He really thinks that he's the victim here. He really does. You can hear it from what he says. I thought it was not abuse. Those words came out of his mouth. Wait till I read what he did to a defenseless man who weighs 110 pounds, who cannot move his body and cannot speak. But he's cognitively aware. He's living in a sort of prison, but he has had his parents that you can tell loved him and nurtured him and gave him the best possible life that he could have for years. For his whole life. Then to have that thing come in and do what he did to him, to the point where they had to sell their home and move to relieve anxiety, to send a message that don't worry, you're safe. But they can't even hire anyone to take care of him. And all they give him, this thing is 15 years. I want to take a moment to thank Brandy for sending me this case. You know, with all of the hearings that are available now that I've been doing, I missed this one, and she sent it and said, "You got to check this out." And I'm glad she did. Mr. Freeman, I haven't seen him look so astute in maybe all the hearings. He was ready to jump out of the chair. And I love what he said. And when he said it, the father, Jeff, you saw him like shaking his head, and he even cracked a smile. It brought, you know, there was something, if you could say something good that came from this, but at least something that we saw is we saw everyone there in support of the victims, where their alignment and their understanding of this case was aligned. There was no alternative viewpoints. It was good to see the assistant district attorney, Randy Meyer, come and say what he said and lay the record straight. And he shows up to every hearing in his parish. So we always should give him credit for that. Now, did he have anything to do with this plea deal? I like to think not, but I don't really know. You know, is he involved? Are there other assistant DAs in his parish? Is it the DA itself that does the plea deal? Just don't know. But again, why there's a plea deal, I don't understand. It's not like they can bring their son up onto the. It's not. You don't have that excuse of saying, "Well, we don't want to traumatize the son because he can't come up to testify." That's not an option. He can't speak. You know, it was interesting. He says, "I'm going to go and take care of my father." And, you know, he realized how ridiculous that sounded. He's like, "Oh, not to take care of him like that, but to, you know, just feed him and stuff or whatever." And it's like, really? I'm sure when your father heard that, he went running for the hills. I mean, there's a reason he's not here at your hearing. You don't have a single person here at your hearing. If I had to guess, you took the only friend that you had, the only man who was compassionate towards you. You guys were friends. You went into his home, like Miss Wise said. You took his money and you beat his son. You tortured his son from day one. Day one. And he did more than that. He assaulted him in his sexual nature. They dropped those counts. They had 5 counts of it on camera. Why they dropped it, I don't know. The system's broken. He was arrested for a 3rd time for abuse of men. I don't know what it means for a 3rd time that he was arrested. 62 counts of cruelty to the infirmed and 5 counts of sexual battery. He's been arrested for a 3rd time after an ongoing investigation into abuse of a disabled 26-year-old man. Kenner police arrested 39-year-old Patrick Bowden Monday and booked him on 62 counts. Investigators watched. Imagine this. They had to watch this. Hundreds of hours of it they had to watch that showed him physically and abusing him. And he had cerebral palsy. It's just, you can't make it up. He's seen punching and slapping the victim in the face, picking up the victim and slamming him onto the bed, twisting his arms, pulling the victim up on the bed by his neck, covering the victim's mouth and nose with his hand to obstruct his breathing, and choking him. What's his statement? I thought it was not abuse. Video showed him inappropriately touching the victim on 5 separate occasions. The victim suffered a broken femur bone, a broken wrist, a broken arm. It was initially believed to be sustained due to the frailty of the victim's muscles and bones caused by his medical condition. It was later determined the injuries were sustained from abuse. So he's breaking his bones. They don't know why. And this man can't talk. He was living in a virtual hell every night, waiting for the devil to come into his room. He was originally arrested February after the mother had a hunch, so she set up a nanny cam. On February 16 and 17, she also provided Kenner police with video of incidents dating back to January. Oh, here they booked him on 2 misdemeanor counts, and I guess that's what they mean by arrested again. Maybe they kept, I don't know, punching him in the head, placing cloth over his mouth. And they reviewed several weeks of video. Here it says they reviewed several weeks worth of video. She realized the abuse had occurred daily and was more severe than she'd first thought. I went through every shift worked in February, and not one day did he not inappropriately put his hands on him. Police arrested him Wednesday night and booked him with 10 counts of felony cruelty. That's what I meant by the third. I guess they kept arresting him. Williams said her son, 26, suffered a broken arm. He's a longtime family friend. He'd been working in an overnight aid for Jeffrey since September, affectionately known as a little man. He's nonverbal, uses a wheelchair, and cannot feed himself. He was supposed to change him, feed him, suction his airways if needed, and administer treatment. But video shows he mistreated the 110-pound Jeffrey Williams, including picking him up by his neck, aggressively throwing him, slapping and twisting his arm. Literally doing this while my husband and I were in the other end of the house sleeping. He was certified to care for Jeffrey through United Cerebral Palsy of Greater New Orleans, an organization that provides support. How long has he been certified? And how many other people has he tortured? He passed screening and training. Oh, it was the first he's ever worked. Thank God. Thank God. You know what I think? He was friends with the family. That means that he knew, just like how cockroaches do this and get married to a woman with a child or a grandchild. He picked his victim. He knew at some point he had something cross his mind that he wanted to beat and torture this man. Little guy. So he actually went and got certified. He went through the trouble of getting certified just so he could access his prey. Can you even think about that? And they gave him 15 years. This is so evident. There's weeks worth of video footage. His motive and his praying, his entire drive to achieve his goal of torture is plain and evident that anyone with a few minutes of reading can see, and they give him 15 years. Why? He claimed he had PTSD. Here, I knew I was causing pain. They have no reason, no proof that he can even back up PTSD. Unbelievable. He's a weak, pathetic creature. Disgusting, despicable, pathetic creature. It's like serial killer stuff going on here. He's probably, not probably, he, in my opinion, has a trail of victims just like others, just like chomos and roaches. And to think, no write-ups, that's what he says, no write-ups. Of course you don't have write-ups. You're a coward. And it means you just fit under that category. Probably, did they say he probably has a low risk score too, right? And then, so let's think about this. This monster gets 15 years and he gets sent to work release. And he gets to do parole every 2 years. He gets handed a golden ticket for being one of the most disturbing cases that we have covered. Why he does not have a life sentence, you cannot explain to me. We have covered many disturbing cases, but you can't always say this one was more. This is on top of the list. This goes on top of the list. It's right up there with the worst. And he gets 15-year sentence and work release and an opportunity for parole every 2 years. You can't make it up. And if you didn't see it here, you would not believe it. If I told you this, you would say, no, he's exaggerating. Well, this is why we do it. This is why we do it. Now, maybe there won't be change, but you know what? If someone, when he gets out and he goes and moves to some other state, does something to try to, and goes, gets a job somewhere else, and someone Googles his name, it will come up. You'll see just how bad as it was. Well, it's actually all over Google, so I guess you don't need this for that. But you do for the other cases. They don't show anything. But maybe the system will change. I don't know. People need to be held accountable because this is just insane. It's absolutely insane. You get more time for possessing a few grams of Schedule 2, but this, anyways. I gotta go.